My grandpa had this weird saying, the kind of family urban legend he'd repeat over and over. At St. Jude's Hospital, he'd say with a serious face, the elevator never, ever stops on the 4th floor. And if it does, son, you stay inside. Don't you dare get out. I always just laughed it off, you know? Just one of his spooky old stories to scare the grandkids. It was funny, until it wasn't. Until I started working the night shift there as a janitor, just trying to make some extra cash. That night started like any other, mopping floors, emptying trash, the usual grind. The hospital was dead quiet, almost unnervingly so. Around 3 a.m., I finished my rounds on the top floor and called the elevator. I pushed the button for the lobby, ready to clock out and go home. But the old elevator car had other plans. It let out this horrible groaning sound, a deep metal-on-metal screech that echoed in the silence. Instead of going down, the car jolted and started creeping upwards. The floor indicator lights flickered erratically. 1, 2, 3. Then the light 4 blinked on, sickly and weak. Grandpa's words hit me like a ton of bricks. The elevator shuddered to a halt. A heavy final thud announced our arrival, and the doors started to slide open. What I saw wasn't a hospital floor. The entire hallway was bathed in this pulsating, deep red light, like the emergency lights were on, but it felt organic. The air was thick and smelled of rust and something sweet, like old meat. The walls, which should have been sterile white, looked like they were dripping, stained with something dark that glistened under the crimson glow. It wasn't a hospital. It looked like a butcher's shop after closing time. Then I saw them. Figures in old-fashioned nurse uniforms moved with a strange, gliding motion. But where their faces should have been, there was just smooth, blank skin. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. They were pushing old, rickety gurneys, and from those gurneys came the most blood-curdling screams I've ever heard. But the gurneys were empty, just the sound of pure, unadulterated terror from things I couldn't see. Panic seized me. I started whispering, "Close the doors. Please, close the doors." My whisper turned into a desperate sob as I hammered the close button with my fist. Over and over, the mechanism groaned in protest. And finally, mercifully, the doors began to slide shut. The sliver of red hallway was getting smaller. I thought I was safe. And then, just as the gap was about to seal, a hand shot through. It was pale, almost translucent, and it grabbed the edge of the door, forcing it back open with unnatural strength. A man in a doctor's coat stepped inside the elevator with me. He looked normal at first glance, tidy, professional, except for one small detail. He was calmly, methodically, sewing his own mouth shut with a piece of shiny copper wire. He didn't even flinch. He just held a needle and thread, pulling the wire tight through his lips. My blood ran cold. I was frozen. Couldn't move. Couldn't scream. He finished his final stitch, tied a neat knot, and then looked directly at me. His eyes were wide and held a look I can only describe as pity. He then handed me a clipboard he was carrying under his arm. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold it. I forced my eyes down to the page. It was a patient list, and every single name on it was mine. Sami, 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 over and over, filling the entire page. And next to each name was a different time of death. My eyes scanned down the list, my heart pounding in my ears. 2:58 a.m., 2:59 a.m., 3:01 a.m. I finally reached the last entry at the very bottom of the page. It read, Sami, 3:05 a.m. With a surge of dread, I looked at my watch. The glowing numbers read 3:04 a.m. The doctor, his mouth now completely sealed, slowly raised his hand and pointed. He wasn't pointing at me. He was pointing past me, out into the red hallway, at one of the empty waiting gurneys. And from it, I could hear a new scream starting. My own.